Okay, so Altaro has just launched Endpoint Backup for MSPs, I believe. So I guess if you can perhaps tell us the storage issues, pain points it's designed to address, and then maybe give us a little bit of insight as to how it actually works.
So this was a product, Phil, that was on our roadmap coming into this year. But, you know, like many roadmaps, it had TBD, to be decided. It's something that we've been requested by customers. They said, we really want this. We want this part of owning and controlling the desktop there and in their local cloud storage that they'd committed to themselves. Now, with COVID, then it came along and this rapid increase of everybody rushing to home to work with on Teams, to work on Zoom, to work on Office 365 with multiple non-protected devices. It gave us a real drive to create that product quickly. That doesn't mean we've missed anything. So what we've done, we've responded very significantly to our customers' needs and created Endpoint within that space of time. So what it is for the MSP, and it uses their local cloud provider, and it allows them to manage easily in one single console the entire endpoint. So the Windows machines to start with, desktop applications, and takes all that to one controllable environment that they manage.
Okay, and you referenced that it was on the roadmap, and then obviously the current situation we find ourselves in kind of meant you accelerated the introduction of it. Without sort of giving out secrets, how far was it planned for the sort of autumn time, or was it sort of going to come out about now anyway?
No, it definitely wasn't coming out about now. We were planned this for later on in the year, but really, we solicit customers' feedback all the time. So our support department we offer support 24/7 free of charge. So we started to see a lot of feedback from the customers that say, look, guys, if you could bring this forward, that really helps us. We've had to invest in remote access solutions. We've seen lots of VPN software. Lots of customers suddenly rush to a remote access strategy. And one thing they said, look, if you could bring this forward, that would really help. So we pulled it forward at least 2 quarters to get it out to the customer to respond. And it launched today, and it has been our most successful beta to date.
Excellent. So roughly how many customers were you already working with, and what was the sort of feedback?
So in total, Altaro has over 50,000 end user customers. That's a mix between Office 365, physical and virtual machines on both a Microsoft platform and a VMware platform. So it's, if you could say which sort of community put their hands up, it was all of those, Phil. Wasn't one single profile that we could say one customer has VM backup. It was a mixture because we deal with horizontal platforms and customers, and it was that rush of everybody to work from home. So we had 400 on the beta, which is a good substantiated beta for us. And it's just been phenomenally successful. It's taken us back and taken us by surprise. Not surprise, a pleasant surprise.
And I guess a lot of people are wondering whether the current sort of work situation, a mixture of some people going back to the office home, do you think that's likely to continue, this sort of hybrid model? Or do you think when there's the pandemic goes away, if it does, we all just head back to the office and pretend this never happened? Or do you think this is a new way of working?
So I'll answer that in a couple of ways. So I think what has happened is we perhaps jumped forward a couple of generations. Now, I don't mean generations in terms of 20, 30 years, but customers were moving towards the cloud. They're moving to a strategy of perhaps moving away from hybrid and on-premise. This has definitely accelerated that dramatically. We've seen MSPs move much more strategically to public cloud during this space. I've got one council that I'm dealing with at the moment, and the council leader said to me, he said, look, we expect to see our revenue go down in 2 years' time. He said to all the companies that get through this horrific pandemic, they'll be looking at their buildings and go, do we really need this big building? Do we really need to commit to the business rates? So I think we'll very much see a hybrid mix of businesses shrinking their real estate and a lot more remote working and coming into the office. So a lot more hot desking than ever before. We've seen an increase in virtual desktops during this time as well, where people are rushed to deploy that. So I don't think we'll go back to as was. I think we've jumped that generation and we've been pushed to jump that. but we're hearing from customers that they'll have a mix of both. Very few we're hearing, Phil, say where they're going back to how they wished before. Very few.
Okay, and so the solution obviously helps people manage these sort of disparate and remote endpoints, I guess, in the main. And part of this is the management console, because I guess the monitoring and managing of the solution is almost as important as the actual solution itself in terms of managing the storage bit.
It is, Phil. The whole ethos for us as a company to keep everything simplistic to use. So it has to be seamless for that end user. As soon as he plugs his laptop or his endpoint or his Windows machine in, it's seamlessly in the background, moving that to the controlled environment that IT has dictated. So IT, in somewhat, the pandemic has given them a significant amount of control back. We're hearing lots of IT departments saying we're no longer considered a burden. We're considered a real asset to the organization. And we've all seen some IT guys that feel a little bit, not valued. And we've absolutely seen that change dramatically during this space in education and all of the different verticals that we see. But that simplistic view of that one single console that anybody can access and report that back, that is a key driver that we're seeing. But the seamless part for the end user, because they may be using a local machine, it may have it may have 365, it may be their home machine. There wasn't a glut of laptops around when the pandemic hit. And now, that's sort of coming back to play. So it's company assets, company data that is now in complete control of that company employee.
Okay, and I guess the solution allows, because it's obviously you're empowering the MSPs to sort of offer this to that end user. Is this monitoring and management available both direct to the end user, and obviously if the end user would prefer for the MSP to do it on their behalf, so you've got that both approaches, yeah?
So at the moment, it's MSP only. And that's how we choose to launch the technology nowadays. So MSP only, and they are providing it as a service. Over time, over the next 2 quarters, we'll look to add that as an end user strategy, depend upon their feedback. If they say we absolutely need this, then we'll put that into place. We are seeing, and I've kept a very close eye on this in various countries, to see that change of consumption model from a perpetual to maybe an annuity-based model. I think as we see customers go back to business, they don't want that unpredictability of, I'm going to buy 50 laptops or 50 copies of Office. They absolutely want predictable costs. So we're seeing the MSPs grow significantly through this period of that 3-year predictable monthly cost. So that's something we need to keep a very close eye on as well.
And in terms of engaging with those MSPs, I guess often the T's and C's, how they can take on this solution, because obviously sometimes there's a minimum amount of involvement. Can you just talk us through how MSPs can onboard with this?
So I think we're very unique, Phil, in terms of we don't put hurdles in the way. So our strategy is, look, we want someone to download the product, install, and within 15 minutes, they are deploying the service. So for MSPs, they don't sign up to a contract. They don't sign up to 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. If they don't like the product after 2 months, they just walk away. There is 0 penalty clauses at all. There is a minimum, so it's the length of time that they are using it. They'd have a minimum of 10 endpoints, so they have to back up. And because it's fully multi-tenanted, that could be 10 machines across 10 customers. So we understand that they have a complete choice between us and other organizations out there. So we need to be easy to do business with. We need to have the easiest T's and C's of any organization out there. And that resonates with a lot of our MSPs. We've seen our best ever recruitment stage during the past quarter of MSPs coming on board. And, that was positive for us anyway. So we're seeing more organizations look to the MSP model because their end users are driving them to that model on that predictable IT cost on a monthly basis.
And the MSPs themselves, are they able to avail themselves of the solution, whether they have to pay for it, or are they giving them sort of some free access to some of the?
Yeah. So you mean something like a not for resale copy, Phil, that they use themselves? We thought long and hard for that in terms of what is the best model, and we structured lots of models down on the whiteboard. Some could have been wrong, some could be right. So effectively, they get 10 of their endpoints free of charge. So that gets them used to using the product. That gets them to be able to see it, function it, how it works, how it operates, how the back end is. So we give every MSP 10 endpoints free of charge.
Okay, are there any other angles on the particular solution? Because I mean, if there are, let me know. But otherwise, before we finish, it'd be nice just to know, Altaro. Obviously, you're just launching this, so I don't want to be sort of sound a bit greedy. But it would be nice to know a bit about the roadmap. But obviously, before that, I say if there's any other points on this solution, feel free.
I think the key thing about the solution, Phil, it's been driven by the customer demand. They've requested it. They've not argued, but they've pushed us to bring this forward, and we've responded very significantly to that. Our development team has all been working from home, and the office has been closed, and it gave them the time to develop this and bring this out. So we've got a very, very aggressive roadmap in place for this and the other products. In fairness, we'll look at other public cloud platforms towards the end of the year. We will look to add extra functionality around that. The first release to me is like a version 2, version 3. It's a really well thought out, produced technology already. But we will be driven by the customer in terms of, if there's any feature requests that we haven't seen already, we'll put those in. But the public cloud offerings, the ability to use local storage, they're all on the roadmap moving forward, as well with a lot more functionality around the product in looking at a full bare metal restore, that type of roadmap function.
Okay, so it'd be fair to say, I mean, clearly no one would ever have wished this situation to occur, but in terms of Altaro, as you say, it's helped you bring this product forward, and there has been no other sort of negative impact. You've been managing to carry on as you would in a normal world, dare I say?
I think we have. It's great for us. We're sort of isolated a little bit. Backup is not a luxury. And I think many people that didn't have, lots of people have backup. Pretty much everybody has backup in virtual machines. But did everybody have backup for endpoints, Office 365, those types of technologies? It's been a reality check to a lot of organizations who realize now they've got a disparate workforce on machines that are not within the network or the domain control of IT. So it's forced some hard choices and quick choices. So we've been fairly protected from that. Our MSP revenue has been significant. We launched the MSP features 4 years ago, and that's been able to be very, very positive for us. And we're seeing more and more partners look at that MSP model and that annuity-based revenue as opposed to a perpetual revenue. So it's been a tough time for us in terms of the change of business. A couple of hundred developers working from home. How do you communicate that across multiple countries? But we've coped admirably with that. And we've had some real significant learnings from that. And I think every company that I deal with, they've all seen the same. It's brought some different context to how they manage IT moving forward.
So I guess in summary, for some companies, digital transformation, I imagine, was already on the roadmap. So this has maybe just accelerated it. And for others, it has been a bit of a rude awakening, but they are beginning to find some silver linings in the situation.
I think very much so, Phil. We've seen, I think I mentioned earlier, we've seen a lot of companies who are dabbling with, for instance, virtual desktops. They've had to deploy that quickly to get those desktops and that company access to applications out to maybe that end user who doesn't have a company laptop. So we've seen some real paradigm shifts and shift quickly. So going back potentially to what we were like in January, I don't think it's an option for many organizations. They've invested in all this new technology and they're not just going to throw that away and go, now everybody come back into the office. So absolutely, I think there is some silver linings, and no one would have wished this upon any company, any country, any individual or organization. But it has, I think, pushed IT very much to the forefront of, we can't be firefighting all the time. We need to be thinking and strategizing of what the next technology shift is going to be, and perhaps accelerate that. Public cloud has definitely grown significantly in this space. I think Microsoft have added about 21 million additional users of Teams. We're on Zoom. The government are on Zoom. It has been a paradigm shift.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your time today, and thanks very much, Colin.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Phil.